All right, good morning, good morning. So, we are on the next episode of the Honda Acty. I did one cool thing. I got a custom plate that says Acty. I don't know, I'm excited about that. But we are going to, this has left a puddle of oil from a valve cover gasket leak in my garage. So I am going to, it's small. I know I have to kind of mess with the valve cover gasket in order to do the timing belt, but since it is leaking now, and I don't want it to make a mess or spot anything on my driveway, I am going to do the valve cover gasket, the spark plugs while I'm in there. We'll take a look at the timing belt if we have a good spot on it from where we're going to be at. So in the meantime, I'm going to take the tracks out because I'm about being proactive. I am going to take them out. My ambition is to put some Rhino liner on them and make them black instead of the yellow. Again, these are pre-owned, so they got a little bit of damage, etc., but they work good. So I am going to try to get those blacked out. We're gonna set them here, and we're gonna put some black, just bed liner. Let me not call it Rhino liner, just some black liner. Again, this is a budget build. If you were coming to my page to find a powder coated, perfectly done, it's not what I'm gonna do. We're gonna do a budget Honda Acty tracked build, but a reliable one, fully serviced, done correctly, proper, diameter to everything inside of the tracks. So anyway, let's get to it. Okay, got them all unloaded. Always remember to use a creeper because it was easy for me to roll them onto the creeper. Use the creeper to bring them over here. So this is what they currently look like. This is the look I'm going for. Again, it's just bed liner. So, and that could be a little messy with the bed liner because it's black on black. So anyway, that is going to be the first one done. And I am going to work on these two or these other three in this area. So we are going to, while these paint, I completely botched that, but while the paint dries on these, I'm going to be working two projects at once. I'm going to make sure that gets done, and then I can continue to work on the valve cover gasket and the spark plug. So I'm going to clear out this mess and get to the engine bay. All right, so that is emptied off. This bed is actually really nice. It's not too bad. They must have had that cover on there for the majority of its life. So anyway, we're going to open up the engine bay. Hopefully you got fingernails. All right, so as you can see, this is already looking pretty wet. It is leaking. Yeah, you can see there's this valve cover is pretty shot. So I'm gonna take that off, likely power wash that thing. It is gross. Maybe power wash the whole thing, cover up the alternator. I guess let me start taking off the wires, distributor cap, rotor button. Let's get to work. All right, so you have a good idea on what's going on here. Despite my best efforts of not putting stains on my driveway, you're gonna hear this throughout my entire saga. I just got this driveway like 2 years ago, and I'm like fighting for my life. Anyway, this is just me wiping it on here. But if you look, that whole corner is wet and dripping. So there is a seal that goes through the distributor, and there's a seal for the valve cover. I am going to take, yeah, if you look down, actually, it goes all the way down. It's the valve cover. It's going all the way down. And I'm gonna clean all this, change this gasket, but I did have to get the two lower screws from down low for the distributor cap because it was out of reach from the top, and it took a 7mm wrench, and that's it. She is ready to come off. So I'm gonna take, hopefully, this cable out of the way, slide this off. But anyway, I might have to play with it, but we're gonna get this off. This cable may have to come loose, but we'll see. I'm gonna try to bend that and slide it out. Okay, honorable mention. So this cable I just took off, it was attached to the coil using the coil wire. So I just unhooked it from there, which is fine, give me tons of space. But notable, it has what appears to be a little dust cap in between the roto button and the distributor. So keep that in mind if you're going to be replacing this, that you're likely going to want that to be replaced back. Okay. Believe it or not, that was fairly easy. I went down there, slid off the button as well. Look at that corrosion, bro. I can't even lock it in right now, but it is gonna be so much better with some new parts in there. Ugh. And let's check the leads in there. Oh yeah, there's some buildup. Let me see if I could capture this, because this is important for you to know. Look at this flaking right here. Look at this. I don't know if you've seen it. Look at it. Every time it sparks, it leaves behind a little bit of residue, and that had complete caked on. Wow, they all have complete caked on residue. It is going to be hard for the camera to pick up, but this is the reason why you service your vehicles. I mean, it ran fine, started fine, but fine and better are two different things. This is going to be better, gooder. All right. Okay, this is what we're throwing in. We got a new gasket for the distributor cap, new roto button. Look at the difference of that. And I know you can't just show a dirty part and be like, oh, look at the difference. But I mean the buildup. Look at the striking tip on there, just completely caked. So let's go ahead and install this. Stop the video because I just noticed something. So I got the new distributor cap on, I got the coil plug on, and I started working on the actual wires, and I noticed there was this little guy, right? Obviously this could have been something I've done, or it could have been something that was there. But if you look, it broke from there. So good thing is, very easy fix, and I'm glad it broke now in front of me, instead of me having to find out that, because they shouldn't break. I mean, they should be pliable enough to move them around to an extent. I haven't been rough in here, but they do get dry rotted. So I'm glad it broke now. I'm glad it broke when I noticed it, and I don't have to troubleshoot whatever it is that did. So it goes to the base of the distributor. I'd assume it has some type of relationship to this. Maybe it passes through to down there. Whatever the case may be, it was dry rotted enough to break under its own existence. I don't even know if that's the wording, I just made that up, but that happens. So be very cognizant of where you're at, what you're doing, and you know, these are 25 plus years old, so everything so far has given me some grief. So anyway, back to the time lapse. So why does things always become complicated? I promise you, I've done these a million times. So let me show you what's going on. This valve cover gasket, I've done these before. I've done timing belts, etc., but I haven't had an air conditioning model before. This has AC. That gotta be the only difference. But I usually spin it, rotate it, push it down, pull it up. It is hitting the hoses back there and it's unable to come off. I actually need to remove the throttle cable to give myself a little more clearance. This is not typical for a non-AC vehicle. I did the valve lash adjustment on these before, and I had to do it like 10 times until I got it right. Never an issue. Anyway, took off this plastic cover, which was just a whole bunch of Phillips screws. I'm gonna go ahead and spin the actual flap open, remove the cable, loosen it here, just move it out the way. Yeah, I had to remove a few things to get the plastic off, but it wasn't a big deal. I had to stop. Again, I'm gonna get a GoPro today. I ordered a GoPro. I hate stopping. If you guys were with me the whole way, I could capitalize on how some of this stuff just happens. But anyway, not a big deal. We're gonna pivot. So let's take the cable off and hopefully I can slip that out. Okay, just like that, we took the cable off and that thing just flew off. So again, this is gonna be one of those things where I couldn't show it in the moment, but I had to spin that back in order to get this out, kind of like a bicycle that has the same concept. It's good if you have somebody to hold this while you manipulate that, but I have no friends, so small violin moment. So anyway, got it out. If you noticed, the seal, the rubber seal, is still right there on the screw side. So be cognizant of that. Don't leave anything behind, it will not seal. So we gotta get that out. Gotta get that out, and then we gotta put some new spark plug seals in here because these are all goofy looking. So let's get started. All right, that's what we're working with. New cover or gasket there for the valve cover. We have new screw gaskets for the valve cover. So these are going to go into where the screws go into to secure this. These will be for here, and this will be for here. So let me get started, everybody. So I was sitting here taking this apart and cleaned it all down. I took out the old stuff, put in the new stuff, and I was like, man, let me just degrease it. And then after I degreased it, I was like, well, I did all that, I might as well put some primer on it. Took the old plugs, kind of covered that, and then I'm just gonna paint it red. You know, it's not gonna be fancy with the different colored letters and whatever. It's gonna be better than the color it was. So I just pretty much took degreaser, a detailing brush, and I scrubbed it, hosed it down, blew it with compressed air, got it dried, put some primer on it, covered the holes with these right here, and then I am going to just paint it red, let it dry, then put the gasket on, etc., etc. In the meantime, I did notice those pieces that were still stuck on the engine side were the gaskets. You can see they crack over time. So keep that in mind. You know, you got leaks coming out of a Acty, you think it's the end of the world, and it's, you know, take a look. It could be something simple, and you could be passing up an excellent running vehicle like this one. So, and these are cheap. So anyway, long story short, let me get some red on here, let it dry. In the meantime, I'm gonna wipe down the mating surface for the top of the cylinder head. And again, you know, I'm gonna have to redo all this, but look at the timing though. It actually looks really decent. Like, there's no dry rotting. It is, I pushed it with a screwdriver, and it is definitely has what do they call, elasticity to it. It's not like dry and hard. So I don't know, but for the sake of the content, I want to do it. But it's just like, it seems like it has a lot of life. I suggest trying to put some type of glue on these right here. These gaskets tend to come off while you're trying to put the cover on. If you could put some type of glue on it to keep it steady, that'd be nice. Anyway, I'm gonna clean all this off, get it prepped and ready, and then I'm gonna start putting it back together once this dries. So I got some red paint on that valve cover, and I wanted to talk about these a little bit. These are the the screws for the valve cover. The upper, yes, this is the upper screws. So this is the replacement for it. Last time I had to cut these off. So this time I'm gonna try to be smarter than the cover or the gasket, and I want to say yes. So this time I'm gonna be a little smarter. This separates. Last time I tried to squeeze this whole thing off with this metal piece and it wouldn't work. So this is in real time. I'm gonna use a pin. Now that it's just straight rubber, I should be able to get it to go over this. Now again, this is all old and no longer nice and rubbery. So I'm gonna stretch it out a little bit. Okay, take my tool out. Nope, not enough. Let's get back in there. Try to persuade it a little more. And again, this is the old non-rubbery one. So I'm just trying to get it to go back over this. Worst case, now that I know these are two different pieces, you can cut the rubber and then you should be able to slide the metal over. So let me just continue to stretch this. I could have cut it by now, but for the sake of people who don't want to cut it, all right. There it goes. So So I was able to squeeze that rubber off. It went up this way. So now, in theory, I can't believe I whooped my butt so much last time. So in reverse, these have a piece of metal on it, but it seems to be stamped one whole piece. Yeah, this can't even separate, huh? Does this go? Yeah, it looks like the aftermarket's like stamped one whole piece, but whatever, I don't care. Oop. Just gonna squeeze this puppy on there. And that's it. Wow, I can't believe I struggled so much with that last time. Okay, probably took it a little too far, but I got the new lowers and the uppers onto the actual said screws. I got the new gasket on the other side. I put a little bit of silicone on it so that it stays in its place, and letting it just dry up a little bit because it's a tight space. The last thing you want to do is have the gasket fall off in a corner that you can't see while in there. So I do tend to put a little bit of silicone in there on the gasket edges as kind of an adhesive to hold it there. So all right, let me slither this back in. Okay, pretty easy to just slither it back in. So we're gonna go ahead and put the first we're gonna put the bolts on. I do the star method, but in this case it's gonna be more like a bow tie method, kind of all at the same time. Finger tighten everything and kind of take turns going through. And yeah, it came out pretty good. I'll power wash all this later, but let's get this installed. Okay, I got a little ahead of myself, but I did put the valve cover back on. I made sure all the star pattern for the tightening of the valve cover was done properly and it settled in right. I did put, oh, my right hand imports came off. It says I-handed, there's supposed to be an H here. I just hosed this down and degreased it, and I clearly just blew it off. So we were gonna abandon my Instagram here, but the paint is on there. I did take a detail brush, scrubbed everything down and just hosed it with a regular hose. I covered the alternator and then went back with just a wet rag and wiped it down. We're gonna take compressed air, blow all the water off. I'm gonna take my right hand imports off. Actually, maybe I'll leave that, that's funny. Right hand imports. Anyway, let's go ahead and air this out. So we took off right hand imports. That was supposed to be a plug for my right hand imports. But anyway, we took the compressed air, blew everything off, made sure all the spark plugs and everything is, all the wires are nice and put into their retaining harness. Let's just take a quick recap. We did a valve cover. We did the gasket for the distributor itself. The spark plugs, I did that off camera because I had to take a staff call. All the valve cover gaskets. And we also, we replaced this hose that we found that was broken or became broken. That's spray paint on my arm. And then we painted that valve cover, degreased, and hosed down the engine. So, moment of truth. Let's go ahead and start her up. All right, this is real time first start. Let's see if we did something wrong. She started right up. Sounds great. What I like to do is let it warm up so it can help evaporate some of the water that might be in an area that I wasn't able to get out with compressed air. So I'm gonna let it warm up and heat everything up. Finished painting these three off camera. It's nothing exciting, but this is what they're gonna look like. This is just with some black bed liner on them, just to make them look a little prettier than that. So again, that is what they are going to look like. I'm gonna do that off camera because unfortunately, I cannot hold this camera and work at the same time. So I did buy a GoPro with a little head attachment. I did put some tire wet on this to make the hoses look pretty, but everything's pretty much warmed up, running like a champ. And hopefully the next time we meet, I will be on my GoPro for the first time. So please follow the 2025 Honda Acty full build, aka hashtag Honda Acty. All right, everybody. See you tomorrow.